All right, my guest today is Taryn King, a Colorado-based realtor who started her career in Boston back in 2014. She's known for her expertise in land and ranch real estate, but also the way she leads with heart and community. After getting started with Facebook ads, Taryn's business now thrives through in-market referrals and strategic niching. She's part of the Wolfpack and a proud graduate of the Social Agent Academy. And earlier this year, she took the main stage at EXPCon as the afternoon session MC, which was so exciting. I loved watching her. And beyond real estate, Taryn has founded a horse rescue that saves more than 400 horses from slaughter in Mexico. Her story is one of vision, service, and purpose. And so, Taryn, I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I should have you intro me on all of my events. That's great.
Well, I mean, you've done a lot, and you never know till somebody, we don't always think about ourselves like that. So, but yeah, no, you're definitely big in everything you do, and I love it. And so that's why I'm so grateful to know you and be a part of this great community. And I'm really excited to have you here. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited.
No problem.
And passion is certainly not something I'm lacking, I suppose.
Yeah, no worries there. So, as mentioned, you've been licensed since 2014 and you started out in Boston before landing in Colorado. So, what drew you into real estate originally, and how has your business evolved since then?
I was young, broke, heartbroken, living in my mom's attic. I didn't know what to do with my life after kind of veering off course from what I thought was a dead set career into the horse industry, and naturally was like, well, I'll get my real estate license and make some quick money, right?
Yeah, I think that's how we all kind of, yeah.
Yeah, here we are, 11 years later. Did not make quick money at all by any means of the word. I did not intend on even selling horse properties, right? And now, that's really my thing, and I've built so much, around that. It's just weird how I think if you can find a true north and you just keep going, that the next step becomes, and the next step becomes, and this path will eventually unfold in front of you, even though it may not be at all what you thought it was. And that's truly where I think that is the story of me getting from there in Boston, which, by the way, there's no horse properties around Boston. That just doesn't exist. And then coming back to Colorado, I got into real estate hoping to make quick money to be able to come back to Colorado, because I knew I wanted to come out here, fell in love with the lifestyle, the fact that you could have horses so close to a major metro in the Denver area. Horse was my first word. So that was always my North Star in my life of how do I stay involved in that, or be involved in horse properties in some manner, or horses in some manner, build a whole business selling horse properties, and actually create a career niching down that specifically and doing what you love, right? And yet once I was able to figure that out for myself, that there is once you give yourself permission to go all in on what your passion is, that's when my business started actually work. Finally, I think it was probably 5 or 6 years in of struggle. I was on the struggle bus of being a typical residential realtor. And then I did the horse property thing, and here we are today.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that's, that analogy is great. It's your true north, because I do think so many agents switch gears. I'm totally guilty of that. But it's also people, you think horse property or land, even land, bare land. It's not there's no glitz and glamour to it, right? So people think it's boring and there's not a lot of money, but it's amazing how many people out there actually need a service like this. And it's just not there. It's not there. That's what I'm finding because I have joined Land and Ranch, and that's it's so crazy. I mean, I've also done horse property my whole career because of where I live. It's a decent market, but it's still very niche. And so I love that you've totally stuck with it because it's your passion, and it's just turned into so much for you, and you can see that. So that's so great. And so when you began running Facebook ads, But now you focus on agent referrals through niching down. What shifted your approach, and how do you help other agents kind of do the same?
So I think, we all have to start somewhere, right? And that's kind of the like hitting the pavement conversation. Is like it is a business that you have to get to work in real estate, regardless of what direction you want to point your real estate career. And so I tried doing like the listen to everybody else and like do door knocking and open houses and expireds and for sale by owners and all of the things that we're told we're supposed to do.
Right.
And terrible, and it wasn't working. And that was roughly 2017. I'd get a deal here and there, typical residential. The reality is like it's saturated. There's so many residential agents, and that I think is what is not like taken into account with a lot of the traditional training in this industry. In 2010 or 2000, door knocking, cold calling, like it worked. And now we have these trainers who are telling you to do what they did when they were in the game 20 years ago, and they haven't sold a house in how long. And it just doesn't work the same way. And like the consumer is a lot smarter. And we have a lot more of a like just different marketing environment and a different real estate environment. And so I finally in 2017 decided that, I saw as an equestrian, as a horse person, I saw a problem with the way that horse properties were listed. And it was that they showed the house first, and horse people don't care about the house. Quite honestly, we all will scroll back through the photos to find the barn first. And so I just had this idea, what if I kind of regurgitated listings to and so my Facebook page, Horse and Hearth, it started as a blog because that was the thing to do back then. Right. And I would repost listings with permission of the agents, of course, and put the barn first and share all of the barn photos or ask them for more barn photos. In my own listings, you'll always see barn, barn, barn. And oh, by the way, there's a house. And that is really where it started. And then what happened is I realized that if I could post this stuff organically and it was hitting with consumers, I could put a little bit of power behind that, right? And it was in the day and age where social media ads were hitting really hard, but everybody was doing the same thing, right? It was like this continual conversation. Oh, yeah. Realtors go post a free list of homes, but it was saturated. And so that X factor is the niching down. And everybody says like riches in the niches, right? But what does that actually mean? And so I just started running Facebook ads for a free list of horse properties on the Front Range. And all that was I would literally go into my MLS, put myself on my own search for horse properties, and I would have it emailed to myself. And then that link I would send out in like an auto, when the lead form went into my CRM, went into an auto email that went out. And then every week I would send out a newsletter of different categories of horse properties with those links from my MLS. So it's a very simple system that I figured out on my own. And what happened is it grew quickly and to the point where I couldn't handle the lead flow. And I started a team, which was not started the right way. That's a whole other conversation. But I needed the help because I had too many leads coming in. I had about 20 to 30 leads a day coming in. And half of those were legitimate, like horse people who were either curious about the market, in the market, or considering. I actually had a couple of conversations with like actual paid marketing companies who would look at my metrics and they would just go, I don't know what you're doing, but we're not touching this. Oh. Like your campaigns are so dialed in. And I always knew it was because it was the X factor, right? The niching down, the differentiating yourself from the typical realtor and speaking to your people.
Yeah.
My people were horse people. And so they just like, it took off from there. And now at this point, the transition, full circle, the transition back to the question, the transition into really being an in-market referral agent at this point is that I was branded myself really heavily into the horse property world. And so now agents out here on the Front Range, they know that I'm the horse property girl. I get asked all the time to market their listings that are horse properties to my people, to my, couple thousand person like database newsletter email list. The one that I just listed, that $4.8 million property, that was an in-market referral. They got a call. It's a team in Denver from somebody off of Google who just saw their name, was like, hey, I have a horse property. I need a horse person. And that luckily I have, because of my bouncing around to multiple brokerages in the past, I have a wide community of agents here in the Front Range. And I didn't do that obviously intentionally, but intentionally have maintained relationships. And so they continue to pass stuff off to me. And what I will say is the funny part about that is agents always ask me, "Hey, I have this referral. Can you help?" And like these are agents, a lot of times, like they're closer geographically to the properties, but they know that the skill set and the organic like marketing ability is just beyond what they currently can offer. And to do right by the client, the consumer, they'll bring me in, but ask me to train them on farm and properties too. And I'll always say yes. Like obviously I love to help people and love to help agents grow. But what's funny is they typically end up going, you know what? It's not my world. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's that authenticity factor. And when you're walking through like that one in particular in that I just listed, the referring agent and I both went to the listing appointment. I was like, yeah, I'll train you on everything I'm doing. Come sit down. And we did the like dog and pony show, typical listing thing. And then the referring agent was like, okay, Mr. Seller, do you have any questions? Typical realtor combo, right? Typical realtor question. And I think she was expecting him to be like, yeah, you know, what's your commission or what's your marketing, like this, that, and the other, right? And he just paused and he like thought about it. It's like, yeah, you know what? You got any horse injuries? And I was like, oh, buddy, got a battle scar here, played in this elbow, I've dislocated this. So that just like in that moment, I think as an agent, you realize you have to be authentic. And you have to speak to the people who share that passion when it comes to niching down. And with land and ranch, like I've told some agents, I don't know if this is your world, right? If you're just seeing dollar signs and you're just seeing, I want to go out there and like build this really big business, but like they're not my people, I don't really care about it, they're going to sniff that out. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be horse properties, but you have to like give some kind of like passion or care, authenticity. Otherwise it's like, why are you doing it? Right. Yeah. And the burnout feel when you get to that point, I think is the real conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, because again, it's like, it's not like glamorous, right? Like you're out in the dirt and you're out in the sticks. Sometimes there's no service. I mean, I have walked so many bare land properties. And again, some of them aren't at like a huge price point, but there's not a lot of people who can speak on it. And so it's great that you've built that rapport with the other agents within your community, even in your own market, because it's really important to have a go-to, and that probably, you know, it does help them in their business as well as, you know, I can't help you, but I can introduce you to somebody who can. And I think that's huge when you're trying to pass a client off to somebody or trying to get them specific information. So it's great that you've done that. I love that. So as you are part of the Social Agent Academy and the Wolfpack. So what first caught your attention about this group, and what kind of growth has this community created for you?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, the updated training or lack of updated training from most brokerages.
Oh gosh, yes.
A real problem, and
a real problem
I wanted to solve for my own personal business. I've joined 2.5 years ago, roughly. And so in that, 2023 market, things were harder than they had been. And we needed to get back to actually being able to market ourselves, and video and social media is just the way of the future. That's the reality of the conversation there, right? And obviously I had built a little bit of Facebook success, but I wanted to be able to expand across. And I joined for the social media training, not knowing the power of YouTube, first off. And being owned by Google, and like how much that can just skyrocket things. So that was like kind of an unexpected immediate benefit of the like part of the conversation. But I think what we all have probably said, and I am like such a proponent of this in with Land and Ranch as well, the community is what is actually incredibly valuable and will change your life, change your business, change everything. So I joined for the Social Agent Academy. It's incredible. It's super powerful. My one piece of advice in that social agent conversation is do it immediately and implement. Like watch the videos immediately and implement. That was my only mistake, and not regret, but looking back, if I did something differently when I joined EXP, I would have ignored the rest of the noise and just logged into the Social Agent Academy and got to work on video one and implement video one day one. I think that's a missing conversation that I always tell my agents, like, forget everything else. Just go do what he tells you to do. That's what you focus on.
I think that's really, I agree with that. And circling back on the community, I think every agent so far that I've had on my channel that I've done these interviews with, within the Wolfpack, that's our number one thing. I know that's what keeps me here. So many people that I've talked to, even, we were just at EXPCon, and that is an event that keeps me around till the next one. But, I do think that our community is so different compared to these other groups that you hear about, because it's just so supportive and personable, and the connections are amazing. They are just amazing. You never know who you're going to connect with either, and that's really what I love about it, is somebody who I would have never even thought that I would have common ground with. We're brainstorming together. We're supporting each other. So I could go on and on about the Wolfpack for days.
The one word that comes to mind is it's family. That's all. It sounds so cheesy, but that's the reality. I call, Jeremy my big brother. And the honest conversation is that I almost left this industry in 2023. I joined EXP. I was having all kinds of just crazy life, personal stuff going on. And if it wasn't for my upline in the Wolfpack, in this community, I don't think I certainly wouldn't be where I am today. And I don't know if I would still be in the industry as a whole. It's a real conversation. Things aren't easy right now. Let's be real. It's one of the toughest markets we've ever seen.
Yes, I feel it.
Have people who can I wasn't showing up to calls. I wasn't answering the phone as much as I should. I just wasn't on my A game. I was letting my mindset slip. I was letting my personal, my health slip. My personal life was taking over the conversation. And, like a big brother, like a best friend, my upline sponsor reached out and was like, hey, you're not okay. And I was like, no, I tried to put on this facade, right? Okay. And he just sees through it, because people care. Because these people that we've surrounded ourselves with actually care about you as a human, not just your business. And that is I get chills. That is the difference, right? That is the difference. Is cool. We all we can make money, we can sell real estate, we can do the business thing. But if your life, in your health, in your mental health isn't dialed in, that stuff doesn't matter. This foundation first. And I don't think we really talk about it as much as we should in this industry. So I agree. The reason I'm here.
Yeah. Well, and to touch on that too, it's not the support that even you get from other uplines, right? Because I could talk about Jeremy for days also, because he's been so helpful to me, and he's not in my upline, but he's been such a support. And I have several people within the Wolfpack that are like that. I mean, I love Suman. That's my guy. That's my sponsor. And he's amazing. But it's nice to know that if somebody else is doing something that they're succeeding at, they are willing to share all of it and help us all grow. And
that's the culture, right? That's the culture of the community as a whole, because that comes from the top down. And so when I finally decided that, I was interested in joining EXP and then interested in joining the Wolfpack, I sat down with Mike, because I wanted to see where the culture, what was the top down and where was it coming from? Because I had experienced, I think many of us have in the past, being disillusioned by brokerages, big promises and big letdown. That's 100%. Kind of a common conversation. And so I wanted to know from the top, who was this person? Did I believe in them, in their mission? And 5 minutes into the conversation, I was like, all right, well, where do I sign? Right? This meeting's over, where do I sign? I love that. And that's one thing that I think about in terms of EXPCon and the community. In Miami a few weeks ago, I had this moment of realizing how cool it was that as agents in the Wolfpack, we could step into this massive environment, this massive, not an international convention of thousands of agents, and a typical agent would feel lost. I would have felt lost. I would have felt anxious. But with this family that we have, wherever you turned, you were going to meet somebody from the Wolfpack. You were going to see our immediately have this connection. And I thought that was just it really stood out to me being in with that many of our agents, that you're never going to feel lost because of that.
No, I agree. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of your other accomplishments. So you have saved over 400 horses through your rescue, which is phenomenal. Especially like I'm such an animal lover and I grew up with horses. So that's amazing. But how was the experience influenced the way that you lead? And how does that help you to serve your clients and show up in business? Like, how do you relate the two? Because they kind of go hand in hand, I'm sure.
It does. And my immediate thought is like the same way I started Horse and Hearth and saw a problem. Was like, I can fix this. And I moved out here to Colorado from New England. And like, quite honestly, New England is a different horse world. Like it's very expensive out there. You don't like not just no, you can't afford horses. So unless you really have the like skill set and the money and like, it's just a different world. Right. And so I moved to Colorado. And I was like, wow, this is everybody and their brother has a horse in their backyard and none of them know what they're doing. Like in terms of feeding, in terms of like fare. I went to college for equine business management. Like I competed all over the country and like that's just been my world. I've been a trainer and a barn manager and the whole 9 yards. So high skill set and came out here and was like, what is happening? Like somebody needs to help. Yeah. And being in my 20s, starry-eyed and naive, I was like, I could fix this. It was a really valuable experience, just kind of getting to work, right? And so I think there's two parts of the conversation. One, that's my personality. That's the entrepreneur in me of like, here's a problem, I'm going to solve it. Right. And the other part of the conversation, I learned a lot in those like 3.5, 4 years of running the rescue. One, you can't fix the problem on a one-to-one basis. And I could save a horse every single day or multiple horses every single day. I mean, I had semi-truck loads like coming down to my rescue and unloading them from auctions and saving them from slaughter, but it didn't stop the flow of horses. Always needing rescue, always needing something. And it's also very expensive to rescue horses. My feed bill was like $1,000 a month and just in hay alone. And so I realized that to solve the actual problem, I needed to be able to scale and I needed to be able to create more funding and create a bigger platform. And similar to like kind of what we talk about, or, I call it my soapbox speech now in Land and Ranch. I can save a horse property, can be ethically selling horse properties all day long, but that doesn't solve the problem of the fact that we're losing our family farms until we can do it at scale, until we can build this platform like what we're working on with Land and Ranch to give agents across the country. And so always having, like you kind of mentioned earlier, which is very touching, that heart-centered mission. I think that's how I guess, live my life. Haven't really paused to like put words to that before, but if I see a problem, I'm going to try and find a solution. And it's always revolving around like, how can we just like do better for animals, for people, for communities, for lifestyle, whatever that looks like.
I love it. Oh, well, it definitely shows like that passion is there. And your passion also brought you, as we mentioned, to EXPCon. And I got to see you MC for the afternoon on the general session, which was awesome. We were cheering you on I feel like we were everywhere in the audience. So I'm sure you heard everybody. But what did that experience teach you? And what did it teach you about leadership and even like visibility?
Yeah. It was a shock and awe surprise when I got the call a week before EXPCon.
A week before.
A week before. Which is like, I think they had somebody cancel last minute, and I feel really grateful that corporate was like, hey, let's give Land and Ranch a platform, because that's what I saw it as I am essentially the face of Land and Ranch. And so they wanted to give the division a little bit of respect. And I was like, all right, well, I got to wear a cowboy hat and boots on stage. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I like barely passed my public speaking class in college because I was like, oh, I'm never going to need this, right? Yeah. yeah, here we are.
Yes.
In my brain, when I got that call, it was just like, just don't say no. Like, don't say no. Don't think about it. Like, just say yes, right? Like, just say yes. Because, and that's kind of like, I think the bigger picture is like, just keep saying yes to opportunities. Just keep going. Like, you only fail when you quit, when you stop. If you just keep saying yes and you just keep moving forward and you just like one foot in front of the other, you will eventually figure something out. And I had no idea. Like, I have no business being on a stage in front of 4,500 people. But I was like, this is an opportunity for the division, for the platform to grow what my agents need and our agents need in Land and Ranch. And I have to show up for it, right? And so like, say yes and show up. I think that's the moral of the conversation. You don't have to figure it out. I have no idea what I'm doing up there. Luckily, they make it fairly easy. It's a very like dialed in, high production team, made me feel comfortable. And then I just had fun, I had fun. And that's
like you were having fun up there. I loved it.
Why not? And now I think it's leading to more opportunities. And so that's the thing. Like, I had no intention on developing a Land and Ranch division when I joined EXP. I didn't know it was part of the conversation. I had no intention on speaking on stage. I had no intention on like doing all these things that seem to be unfolding because of the opportunities that I've just said yes to. And yet it's a lot more than a real estate career at this point. I say like, it's not even a division, it's a mission, right? And that's the thing, like, find your true north, just say yes, show up and keep going.
I love it. Yeah. Just say yes. There's too many no's. And so you've built your brand around authenticity and community. How do you balance running your business, giving back, and still protecting your time and energy? Because we all know that that's challenging. And so how have you been able to balance that?
I don't, but I'm trying. That's the reality, right? It's not ever I don't think we figure it out. It's a constant effort of trying to balance. I have 2 young kids, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have them staring out the window here at my 3 horses. So I run a ranch. I have the division, I have my agents, I have my production business, the kids, the family, the whole 9 yards, right? And I don't have it all figured out, but we're just gonna every day you're gonna get up and try a little bit harder, try a little bit something different or pivot here. One thing I will say is I have had to, I used to do a lot of the I'm not gonna sleep thing and just work till 3 or 4 in the morning, quite honestly, and get 2 hours of sleep. Especially earlier this year when we were really building out the division. And that's not sustainable. It's not healthy. I had this feeling of if I can just get over this one hump, right? Just get over this thing and maybe it'll be a month or a couple weeks of sacrifice. But the reality is it just keeps coming. There's always always
something. Mm-hmm.
So now I do as much as I possibly can. I am ruthless with my time because I have to be. And then I have to go to sleep. And last night I thought that I would put the kids to bed and get up and work for a few more hours. And I was like, I'm just exhausted. I'm going to sleep. And that's you have to take care of yourself. You have to. And there's still stuff left to do on my to-do list. Sometimes I don't answer the fastest as much as I would like to. I used to be really anxious about not responding right away, immediately. And you do have to start prioritizing things and putting boundaries and taking care of yourself. That's the hard part of the conversation. I think for a lot of us as agents, we want to take care of everybody else all the time. And you can't if you're not taking care of you.
That's true. Very true. Absolutely. Okay, one more question, bonus question. What is next for you, both personally and in business? And how do you see the Wolfpack and Land and Ranch continuing to shape that journey for you?
I have all of the ideas and I have no idea, right? That's my personality. I have a ton of ideas of things that I want to do or grow into, projects, different business ideas, whether it's in the horse property space so again, that kind of, I see a problem and I want to create a solution. I have realized that most of my clients are aging ranch owners, and they eventually, you age out of being able to manage a ranch. And oftentimes what they've dedicated their lives to is that property, blood, sweat, and tears to building their lifestyle, their dream life here. And then they get to a certain age and it becomes too much physically, emotionally, financially, and they have to give up that dream and then maybe move into an assisted living. And I have a client right now who built an incredible, beautiful horse property and in the mountains, and then had a fall and had to move into an assisted living facility in downtown Denver. And that breaks my heart. I personally, like, nope, not doing that, right? Like, I will live and die on my ranch. And if I can't, who am I, right? Because that is such a core part of who I am and my life and my enjoyment of life. So long story short, one of my big ideas that I do want to move into is creating essentially a age in place retirement community where we can build these like little ranchettes that, somebody could, if they have to sell their home, their ranch, they can then move into these like age in place ranches with maybe a 1 or 2 small stall barn in the back. And we have a community like ranch hand who could clean the stalls and help you with their horses until you can't maintain that lifestyle. And you would maybe move into the like central facility there on the property and have everything all the way up to like from assisted to full hospice care. But out your window or your daily walks, you would still be on a ranch and you would still see horses a whole 9 yards. So like preserve this lifestyle that we all like are so interconnected with. And in that same vein, we have a massive issue in the world right now where there's this gap, right? There are these aging in place ranch owners who cannot afford to stay on those ranches. And oftentimes they have to sell them because they have to unlock the equity to afford the end of life care. And we have younger startup professionals or wannabe professionals, whether they are horse trainers or wannabe farmers, wannabe ranchers, their younger generation does not have the ability because of affordability issues to purchase a farm or a ranch unless it's like passed down. And that is a huge gap that is only growing wider. So if we can create essentially a nonprofit that we have this like retirement facility center, and then this nonprofit could step in and we can unlock the equity of these multi-generational ranches and allow that person to take that cash, go do end of life care, whether it's on our facility or another. We can step in, take over the property, whether it's like a deed in trust, something like that, and rehab the property, and then have these younger startup professionals in the the land and ranch industry come through a program that they have to kind of like apply for. And they would apply with a business plan and they would get approved to then rent to own these properties with a side of business coaching because they might have a skill set, but maybe they're not great at balancing a P&L. So we would then eventually, after they kind of graduate from that program, like you've proven your business plan is like effective and it's proven out, maybe you've been in it for 3 to 5 years in a rent to own, then we can transition to fully owning that property for them and just like act as an intermediary to bridge this gap. Because if we don't start doing something differently, as a society, that lifestyle is gone, the land is all eaten up, developments are everywhere, and like, what are we doing? So that's kind of there's a problem out there. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm going to try something. And I'm going to try something. Eventually it'll stick, maybe. We'll see.
No, I love that. I love that. I have a very similar mindset. Like, here's the problem. Sometimes there's a solution, but there's that gap. It's like, what do you do to link the two? So I love your mission and definitely keep me updated on that because if I can support you in any way, then absolutely. I think that's an amazing idea.
Well, and it takes so many of us. And we have had this conversation before. I think as agents, we're almost on like this frontline conversation, right? We're the first ones who are invited into the kitchen table to have to hear the real story of where somebody's at and what they need to happen. So I think that's just part of we are more than realtors, step into your role as a entrepreneur and somebody who can care and who can solve problems and think outside the box. Yeah. Really think it's the next level, if you will.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, I also love how you have blended purpose and leadership and strategy into everything you do. You've done the horse rescue and leading the EXP Con stage. You're showing agents that success comes from authenticity and service. And so for those of you watching, drop your favorite moment from this interview in the comments, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories from our agents. And if you're ready to find your voice, your niche, and your community inside the Wolfpack, click the link in the description to book a private call with us and let us help you build a business. Thank you so much, Taryn, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.